Hey guys, what's up? So let me fix this camera. Well, how's that working? I feel like I'm crooked. Um, so suffering is a competition. It's all over our social lives. It's almost like the worse your life is, like the more moral you are or something. It's almost like you get social points for like going through bad stuff. And I guess that kind of makes sense because, like, it means that you lived through something difficult. And so maybe it implies that you're, like, tough or smart or lucky or something. I don't know. Like, have you ever told someone about something hard that you've been through and you get this, like, weird little subtle hopeful feeling, like, um, this makes me cool somehow. You know what I mean? Like, I've talked about some of the bad things that happened to me in my life on the channel, and it, it, I'm not really looking for sympathy or anything. Like, I don't think that that would do me all that much good to get sympathy from a bunch of people I don't know on the internet. But people do it all the time, where, like, even if it isn't that helpful, it's still something, I guess. Like, I guess it can help to have, like, other people acknowledge that when what you went through was bad, like, almost in a, maybe it's like almost a little bit therapeutic that people are even acknowledging it. Because I've noticed something in my life that a lot of times I'm just not allowed to have problems. Like, there was this one time I had these roommates. They were friends of mine in high school. It's kind of a long story, so I'm not going to give you, like, the whole plot. But what happened was I had bought the land up here in Tennessee where I'm at right now, as we speak. And before the prices of land went up really a lot, I kind of got lucky. But I was trying to drive up here and start building. Right, I had quit my job. I had saved up a little bit of money. I went to high school in South Carolina, like right on the border of South Carolina, North Carolina. So I wanted to go visit my friends on the way here. It's out of the way, but, like, it's not that out of the way. Like, it's probably 6 hours or something from where I live. So I would drive roughly 8 hours up there, and then about 6 hours over, um, west to get to the property. So it would have taken me like 6 hours to drive straight from Florida up here, but I really wanted to see my friends because I hadn't seen them in a while. And there was something up with my car, and I didn't know what it was because I don't know anything about cars. And so I uh, just kind of checked, or went in, uh, to my friend's house to, like, hang out with them. And I was just going to stay for like a couple of days or something, have some drinks, catch up or whatever. But I really wasn't in a hurry. Like, I had some money saved up, and it's not like I had anywhere to be. Um, I just had to, like, go to the property and start building and stuff. But my friend said, he was drunk. So I don't think he really had thought it through before he said it. Um, hindsight's 2020, and I probably should have handled this different, but I don't know if I really could have, because what ended up happening is he said that he didn't care if I stayed at the house for a while. They had a spare bedroom, and I could save up even more money just working with them at their job. And turns out what was wrong with my car, I didn't realize until I moved out of there and was on the way to Oh, well, oh my gosh, I got all mixed up. Let me backtrack just a little bit. So I took them up on it and stayed with them for a while. I wasn't planning on staying with them as long as I did, but I started realizing that the problem with my car was like bigger than I thought it was. So I stayed with them for a while. When I left, I found out because it blew up. It didn't blow up the whole thing, but like the something under the hood went poof, and there was like smoke and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, I am really screwed. Turns out it was the transmission. So, but when I was staying with my friends in South North Carolina, it was North Carolina at that point because they had moved to North Carolina, not really that far from where we went to high school, but still, like maybe an hour or something away. And so I was staying with them, and I got the flu at one point, or something that felt like the flu. I don't know if it was actually the flu or whatever. And so I tell my friend, um, what it was two of my friends from high school had been together for like 10 years or something, and the girlfriend was the one I was talking to. I was like, man, I think I have the flu, but I'm gonna come to work anyway. I feel like shit. And she was like, oh, you don't have the flu. I was like, okay. And then a separate time, like I was talking to her, and I was like, man, I think I have a drinking problem. And she was like, you don't have a drinking problem. Okay. And it's not just her, like it's a lot of people in my life. Like I'll tell somebody that I'm having some kind of problem, and they either downplay it a lot of the time, or they just tell me straight up that like, no, that's not a problem. You're fine. Keep on trucking, I guess. And I think the reason for that is that they don't want me getting the social points for having a problem. You know what I mean? Or at least that's what it feels like. I know it's probably more nuanced than that or whatever, but I think a lot of it just comes down to suffering is a competition. And people don't like it when you have an actual problem, or when I have a actual problem. People might like it when you have a problem. I don't know. But people don't seem to like it when I have a problem, or not everybody, but a lot of people. And I like, I don't get it, like, partly, but I think that I partly get it. And like, I'm really not, I don't, there's not much I can do with sympathy, you know what I mean? And it kind of feels awkward because, like, I'm one of those people, like, I don't know if it's the way I grew up, like, people, like, subtly punishing me for um, needing help or whatever, but I just really don't like asking for help. It feels weird. And getting sympathy from someone almost feels like help a little bit, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit sometimes. I'm not looking for sympathy, I mean, I'm not going to be mad if somebody empathizes with me or anything, but it's one of those tricky things where, like, it's almost like you don't want too much of it because you don't want to, like, attract too much attention to yourself or whatever. And I don't really need the social points, for suffering. And like, in that instance, like, I might have I might not have had like a drinking problem then, but I was drinking every night, and that's expensive. So, and it's, probably not that good for me really. And drinking messes up your REM sleep. Like, it basically just takes away your REM sleep. But the thing is that, like, if I didn't have a drinking problem then I know that I have a drinking problem now. And and it's probably one of those things that's been kind of sneaking up on me my whole life, because my dad had a drinking problem, my uncle had a drinking problem, and they both died um, of heart related problems. Like my uncle had heart surgeries and heart attacks, and I think a couple of strokes or something. And he lived for a while, but it wasn't very long. I mean, I think he died in his 60s of just heart problems. And he was a pretty healthy dude other than that. Like he was one of those dudes that was kind of not like built like a truck, but kind of stocky. Like really my dad and him were both like they had that tough guy build, you know. Like my dad's arms were like as big around as my leg. And I'm about the age, I'm a little bit older than he was when he had me. And I'm not built like that. Like I'm kind of a not scrawny, but I guess I'm like average, you know. I used to be like skinny, and I've just never been built like that. But and I don't know how the genetics work. Like I don't know if people who have that kind of body plan and those genetics, if they are more susceptible to heart problems or if they're less, you know, maybe they have more, I don't know. But I'm not like worried cuz I'm only 35. I just turned 35. Like I know that this is like when people start to kind of accumulate problems like my lower back has, you know, like it gets really stiff sometimes if I work too much, and I'll like slip it out if I try to lift something too heavy, and I have a problem with my wrist. Like I have weak wrists somehow. I don't know how that happened. I never thought that I had weak wrists, but apparently I do. And I don't know if I just like overworked it or what, but I had a ganglion cyst for a while. It was like a bump right there. It maybe even still there. I don't know. I think what happened is my dogs got in a fight one day, and I don't know if you can see that scar. You definitely can. That right there. I freaking put my hands in the middle of their dog fight, which I don't know why I did that. I straight up put my fingers in Jack's mouth. And I think what happened is I think that he thought that he was biting Oscar, but he was actually biting me. And I think he bit into the cyst and ruptured it, I guess. And I guess that healed it. Or I guess it like, you know, took all the fluid out of it or whatever. I know this is gross. I'm not trying to be gross, but I was bleeding like pretty hardcore. And it hurt. Like his teeth like grinding on my bones in there freaking hurt. Like that was the worst part about it, you know. I mean, he even did the like shaky pull away, snatch away thing that dogs do. I straight up, I think they thought that he was biting Oscar because Oscar was tearing him up. He was like biting his ears and stuff. And Jack's one of those dogs with the floppy ears. I was so scared he was gonna like try to rip his ears off or something. So, needless to say, I keep them separated now. But yeah, I I think that like we all consciously know that competing for who has suffered the most is kind of dumb, but maybe we all do it anyway on like a unconscious level, you know what I mean? And like it seemed like for a while like the whole COVID era was freaking wild, you know what I mean? And it seemed like even now like there's still like residual stuff, you know, happening now from then, but it seemed like y there was so much, you know, the term like virtue signaling. It seemed like there was also a lot of like suffer signaling. I don't know what you would call that, but like and I'm not downplaying, you know, what all these different like social groups have been through or anything, because like the gay people and the black people have been through absolute hell, over the decades and decades and decades that we've all been trying to coexist in America. And I'm sure that it's the same way in the UK and the rest of Europe and probably even Scandinavia. And yeah, like people people Scandinavia tends to have like a reputation for being nicer or something. I don't know. I've never been there, but I've watched some YouTubers from Scandinavia, and they do seem like nice people. But it seemed like there was always like like the BLM movement, the Black Lives Matter. Like obviously, Black Lives Matter. But there were all of these people, these like white people, like me, who probably have less black friends than I do, running around acting like they care so much about these people they don't even know. Um, and like we would be being dishonest to say that like none of that was just for social points. Like a lot of that was for social points. And when I say social points, like you know what I mean. I'm not talking about like actual like written down like an actual written down point system with tally marks or anything. I mean like how you're perceived by the people around you. Like if you care about this group who has suffered or whatever, you get like what's the word? I don't even know the word. Uh, People think that you're like more empathetic or whatever. But like back then, it was like it was wild. It was like it was just blatant. People were just blatantly competing over who was suffering the most. Like there was the whole fight between the right and the left, where the left was saying that if you don't wear a mask, then you like hate your grandma or whatever, and the right was saying that, like, and the right was like refusing to wear masks because it was like this. I don't even know. I don't even know the way that people behaved during that whole thing was just wild. There have got to still be like relationships ruined by how people acted back then. And it's just, I know that a lot of people were killed by COVID, you know. Um, but even people that were barely affected by it were running around playing up how much they were suffering because of this, virus thing. And to be real, like for a lot of people, it was basically just like a head cold. Like I'm pretty sure I had it or something similar to it for a bit because I had like a week long headache and just like I felt like I had the flu, which were weird symptoms, because like I usually don't get a headache with the flu. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure it was something like COVID if it wasn't COVID itself. Some one of the like mini strains of COVID. And I took a bunch of Theraflu and ibuprofen, and I was fine. Obviously, that's not how it went for a lot of people. A lot of people died. So it's not, I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm just saying that a lot of people upplayed it. You know what I mean? For, I guess, for social points, and at the time for like, political firepower, because every good God, man, the arguments that sprouted up from all of that were just all of the arguing. was so strange. And I just I know that it must be like something that we evolved over time, you know, as a species. To I don't think it's like so much a cultural thing. I think it's like maybe a genetic thing, like a genetic behavior, you know, that we all have, that we know unconsciously that if we suffer, then people don't expect us to work as much because we're hurt or something, or you know, people respect us more for living through it, or admire us or something, you know. But and I understand that, like, in a way that needs to be the case, you know, because like we have to, you can only empathize with so much, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times you don't have the experience that another person has, so it's harder to empathize. But if you can see that like they've been through something, or they've been, you know, hurt or distressed in whatever way, you don't really need to empathize with it so much. You don't need to have their experiences, because you can see it, or you can, you know, you don't necessarily have to imagine it. If we all have this unspoken agreement that people who suffer um, get a little bit of special treatment, you know what I mean? It's kind of a rule. It's like an unspoken rule that we all follow. But like all of that being said, though, people still like upplay how much they're going through. You know what I mean? Because it gets you points, I guess. And everybody's always keeping score. You know what I mean? Like unconsciously, I guess. So I guess like I try not to upplay, you know, my suffering or whatever. But you also have to like be careful not to downplay it too, because like I think the sweet spot, you know, like I think what you want is you want to accurately represent to your group, you know, what's going on with you. And ideally, you would want them to be empathetic, or at least acknowledge that, yes, you know, you've been through some shit, and now we need to, oh no, what's the word? I just cannot speak English today, I swear. Oh, hello, Kitty. Um, at least acknowledge that, you know, the people around you who are going through something um, might need a little bit of support. You know what I mean? That you can't just expect them to like be Rambo and like kick ass at life if they're going through something, you know. And maybe that in a way is like why people upplay it, because it's better to be safe than sorry. Like you want to convey to other people that what you're going through is serious, and it's not, you know, something you can just get over. I've been going to therapy for a while, and that's one of the things that I noticed pretty much right off the bat, is there was this like awkward, you know, this awkward thing that was going on with me, where I would talk to my therapist, and I wouldn't want to like upplay what I was going through, but I wouldn't want to downplay it either and just be dismissed, you know. So I would have good days and I would have bad days, and sometimes when I went to therapy I would be having a good day, but I had to tell my therapist about, you know, like I'm mentally ill, you know. And I had to explain it in a way that they understood, and you know, that would get me the response that I needed, which is okay, like we acknowledge that you're going through this, and so now we're going to try to help, and here's how we can help, um and so you don't want to downplay it, but and I think what helped me was that I could remember, obviously, my recent bad days, and I would just try to explain that to them. You know what I mean? Like, the last time I talked to my therapist, I was like, my job is hard. I've been drinking a lot. The depression has gotten really bad. They always ask you, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how bad is your anxiety? How bad is your depression? Stuff like that. So I told him my anxiety's been at a pretty solid 3 or 4 lately, and my depression has been at a pretty good 7 or 8. You know, I just hadn't felt like doing anything. Like y'all can see behind me, I don't want to like bring too much attention to it or anything, but my house is a mess because I have major depressive disorder. Like, this is what mental illness looks like. But it's a funny thing. It's like it's almost like a balancing act you have to do, because you don't want to make it sound like you're looking for sympathy, or like you're looking to get social points, or that you're looking for a free ride. You don't want necessarily for your group to just do everything for you and let you sit around and be lazy, and then slowly begin to like resent you for not pulling your own weight. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you don't want to just be dragged along having to do things that you can't handle. But I think I've rambled enough. This video is almost 30 minutes long. So if you like my videos, like and subscribe. And I guess I'll see you guys later. Bye.